All right, guys. You guys want to blow up your back? Saw I blow my back up. You want a mass building back workout? Try this. You want bulging lats? You want Tyrannosaurus traps? You guys want lats like Dorian Yates with half the work and half fucking genetics? You want to figure out how to not work hard, get big? You want, this is the shortcut channel.
Another request from the peanut gallery. Such a nice way to refer to the people that follow your channel. You know I'm kidding, right? I've been putting out some shoulder stuff lately that people are, I guess, liking, or it's helping them out in some way. But there's like, I think there needs to be like, there's kind of gonna be videos going forward that are gonna be like more like clarifying stuff that's been done. Like, we went into detail about certain things, but there's like a little more detail that can be expressed to help the person understand more. And one of the things that people write me about often is like, they write me a lot about the one arm cable, rear delt, like pulling across your body. And now a lot more people are like, they're kind of grabbing that. They're still not, but they're kind of grabbing it. We're gonna show you how to help yourself understand that, like in a very basic way, like rear delts 101 here. But like, when a lot of people are writing about this cable, saying that this cable crossover variation has helped them with their rear delts, like one that I show, right? So obviously there's different ways to do it. We've shown it ways where it's like I can press down and out for guys who have trouble getting up. They get up here when they do this one. I've said like people can, if they get good at stabilizing, understand where the rear delts are, they can literally just slide apart. It doesn't need to be like this rocking, like sometimes I teach people. The rocking is more to make people understand this transfer of weight that now I can just do through my hands. So I originate moving from my hands and I open wide. I don't need to go be forward and then go, because I understand the range of motion. That's what we talked about in another video. I understand how long I can push and the tension and the movement in my body, the tempo, to allow me to push shorter now. I don't need to do this like arcing, rocking, this and that. And the down one is just people being able to find their rear delt on something. So if I'm sitting here, I feel like my rear delts, because my shoulder's low and my elbow's low and the tension's here on my fingers, I feel tension on my rear delt because my arm's being pulled up. So it's almost like I'm pulling down to a spot where I still have tension on my arm and I'm just sliding across. So I'm shortening this distance of all the way to being in the middle here and then pushing down and out, as if I was just doing this across, right? So, but the thing is, people don't get when they do rear delt is you have to position your shoulders. There's different ways to position your shoulders to make it more focused or more isolated on your rear delt, or less. And one of the key things of that is like, I have to understand how to, which is a lot of guys have a problem with, not a problem with, they have a lot of problem understanding how to move once they do it. They can't protract their shoulders. So I can't extend my shoulder, basically, for lack of a better term, outside of the socket of where my shoulder wants to sit, let's say. It doesn't sit in line with my body now. I need to get this to happen. So I've literally extended my shoulder forward. I haven't reached my hand. I've done that. And now I've gotten more length here. So I didn't reach further and keep my arm where it is and just let my arm go. I literally placed my shoulder out this far both sides, and then I set movement off that. So it's still not back to its original spot. I'm not here. So I'm reaching and then I'm setting into tension where I feel like I can open my hands now. Out here I don't have any tension. Here I do have tension. So if I understand I'm here and then I start moving off this range, you'll start to find, guys and girls, when you're doing this, that like the weight will move easier and you'll isolate more on rear delt because you're not going to get trap involved. Because if my arms are out here off my body and I'm caved in through my back, because I have to do that to be able to reach out further, I have to kill my chest. I can't have my chest flexed or engaged in any way. If I do this, it's pretty damn hard to get my traps involved unless I'm going, like, my arms are off my body. My traps are not involved. I have to move my arms apart to get my arms to move, or I just have to put them down. They just won't go anywhere. So if I'm here and I'm rocking off here, I can also bend elbow and slide across and create more tension. You'll notice when you bend more elbow, you'll feel more rear delt. You can do it with straight hands. You can practice with just opening straight hands with this protracted shoulder, but then it's finding that rear delt and setting it down and moving across. So if I'm here, I'm just gonna set and then I'm gonna move out. So when I do rear delts, I don't think in my mind, for beginners we do, of kind of like this arcing, kind of like coming around and back thing. When I do rear delts and I train people, I want them to think that they're literally taking their hands and spreading them apart. The cable and my movement will elicit me rocking back towards you, but in my mind, I'm just opening wide. As imagine there's an imaginary line here that I'm not deviating from in my mind, but I'm gonna end up right here. But I'm just trying to open. That's why it doesn't matter how far you push out. In fact, the less you push out in a rear delt movement, probably the better. Because you don't want to the idea is like, there's this idea of rear delt's on my back. It's a part of my fucking back. It's this upper portion right here. But then there's this like gap that is actual rear delt, right? It's like there's this gap here, and you'll see these guys with these massive shoulders, and you'll see this divot. You'll see nothing popping off this three-dimensional area back here, right? So we're trying to hit that little area, understanding that like rear delts get trained on a lot of shit. Like the meat of my rear delt gets trained on a lot of pressing, pulling, whatever. It could be anything, right? It's gonna get a lot of stabilization. It's gonna work a lot. So when we do these rear delt stuff, we're trying to hyper isolate on that little finite area that doesn't get a lot of like focused work through overall movement, right? So that's why I'm saying, if I'm extended here, like I was just with nothing in my hand, right? If I'm now extended in my shoulders and I'm rounded in my back, as you can see like this, I'm rounded, I'm loose. There's no tension. Because I can hold these here all day. It's not a lot of weight. But even if it was, I have my pressure down on the cord, and my shoulders are so protracted that I just have tension here. I don't have any stress at all. I'm not trying to do this and hold this thing apart and like stop my hands from coming in and pulling me forward. They're already as far forward as they can be. So I can just literally crack elbow like we talked about. I loosen up and I move. But it's got to be this tempo of here, open. Open. The goal is to not, because the more we speed things up, the more we can't control our movement, especially on finite shit, and then everything starts falling out of place. We start just thinking speed is tension. All you guys, I can't express to you enough out of all the things I tell people on this channel. The speed of your rep and the amount of reps you do and how fast you do them does not dictate tension. Tension is how long the muscle can stay in a lengthened position and you can control it. And how much you can control through a full range of motion or a limited range of motion. It's tension, and tension is still tension whether you're holding something or not, whether you're doing a movement or not. There's tension on my shoulders right now. They're being pulled out and they're set in my rear delt. My arm is being pulled forward. So as soon as I move, I'm on rear delt. And I'm going around and I'm on rear delt. If I rest here for a second and I catch my breath, there's still tension. Because I still have weight a little back and I'm still able to open up here and push. So I don't need to do these like rapid fire machine gun reps. Everyone's so quick, everyone's in such a rush to get their set done because they've equated like the speed of their set as the intensity of their set. Like, oh man, if I take these dumbbells off and just bang, 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 it's like I kept the muscle under tension, right? It's like, yeah, for like a split second.
How about the opposite where people go super long with the reps?
Well, that's what I mean. There's got to be a sweet spot when it comes to different movements. It's going to require different levels of tension or different levels of tempo. To say, that's why it's so crazy when you see these guys prescribe training things and they're like, make sure your eccentric is 4 seconds and then your concentric is 3 seconds or 2, whatever the fuck it might be. They're like this much down and this much up with this much pause at the top and this much. That doesn't apply universally to lifts. That's insane. Like, why would I do that? Especially if they're feeder sets or warm-up sets. Like, why am I doing that? Like, I see people, I saw a girl training today. She was doing leg extensions, and it was the slowest leg extension I've ever seen in my life. It might as well have been a patella extension. It wasn't a quad extension. It was just like literally like pushing her patella out as hard as she could, and her quad flexing, and her being like, oh, I guess that's it. It's like, there's got to be a certain level of speed. There's got to be a certain level of tempo to every machine that you do. So don't think that it's like some blanket thing like, oh, I do this tempo on everything and that's how I grow. I do everything really slow, really fast. There's a lot of times when speed is going to matter. You're going to, especially speed through the negative. I would say speed through the negative is something people screw up more than speed through the concentric. Their negatives are way too slow. Especially with the understanding that once you're holding the weight where it should be, let's say it's a press, if I'm locked on here and I understand this, right, and I go up, I can come down pretty quick. Because my body knows where I'm supposed to be. It understands this area, so it doesn't need to think about getting there and going, oh yeah, there it is. So there's no pull, bang, pull, bang, pull, bang. That speed slows down the heavier the weight gets a lot of the time. Some idiots it doesn't. They just bounce the bar off their chest or bounce it off their chest. But it's like understanding an aspect of control comes in when the weight gets heavier, but the tension and the tempo is still visually probably the same to someone looking at you. It's like there's no real significant difference. Maybe it's slowed down like a half a second. So instead of being like boom, boom, it's more like, but it's still this smooth motion. It's not like a, do you know what I mean? So as you guys are doing this too, we talk about where you put your hands and like how we're grabbing the cord. So if I'm grabbing this cord over this like nipple area, let's say, I don't know what the fuck that is, whatever. Grabbing here, there's a ton of pressure on this finger. So I'm putting a ton of pressure in this OK symbol I'm making. I'm pulling more from that, pressing on the edge of this with my index finger. I'm not trying to grab this and open it. Because the more extension I put in my whole hand on this, the less pull and less relaxed my shoulders will be. If I grind down this whole arm and I go to move this whole arm across, everything else wants to grab. I can feel my lat grabbing and feel everything. Whereas if I'm here and I'm light, not that these fingers aren't holding, but I'm literally pushing this across. So this finger is being pulled around and I'm pushing right across. So the tension's on this lip of here. Okay, so I'm trying to like create an angle with my hands that my hands are pushing down and away on this like kind of V motion. So it's like a wide fucking V, but I'm pushing it down and away, across, right? But if I don't have that feeling of my hands getting pulled up into a point, into a finite point right here, not just my hands banging together, I'm coming right to this point where the grip is and I'm trying to spread that grip apart. Then I know I don't pull till I get to that spot again. So I feel that pull in more than if I just held these and guarded. You know what I mean? So everything has to do with how you're manipulating your hand through the pull and relaxing your forearm, right? Because a lot of guys that get to do this, they'll grab onto this fucking thing and they're going and doing reps on both sides. So they're doing reps and they're going like this and I'm having the rocker and then they get here and they're like, they gotta like readjust their hand. They're trying to grab the cord. Like you're trying to grab the cord for some known reason. Like this is enough grip all you need. This shit's on every fucking machine. Just grab the fucking little testicle thing and fucking throw this fucker out. But just feel that the pinch is coming from my hands, right? It's like if I was, a lot of people have done these dumbbell spread aparts where you kind of reach over here and you push away. That push is coming from the same spot. So I'm tipping this dumbbell forward, like it's angled that way, and I'm just pushing my fingers apart. So I'm almost sweeping the ground with my fingers. I have such a light grip here, because the more I tighten up this grip, the more it just turns into that, right? So it's pinch grip, let's call it. That's a new term.
Yeah,